Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today I want to explain to you what the different products are out in the market, not all of them, but a good many of them that you see over and over again. What's out in the market to help manage fungi on your tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, squash. Over there we have some melons. So that you better understand what you're putting in your garden. If you want to be 100% organic, that's perfectly fine, but you still should understand what you're putting on your plants and in your garden. Just because it's organic doesn't mean that it's safe to consume. It still can be harmful. I'll go over that a little bit. I also want to talk about the 3 biggest mistakes people make when trying to manage fungal diseases in their garden. And I think we'll start with that. The first thing is people start too late. Usually people start spraying when they see a problem, and it can be effective to get it under control if you start dealing with the fungus when the problem appears, and I use hydrogen peroxide for that. It works really well. But you really want to start 2 to 3 weeks before the fungus arrives in your garden. If it arrives 1 year, most likely it's going to keep arriving year after year after year. Each zone is different. Some zones don't get fungal diseases, while others get them really badly. For instance, late blight seems to be more prevalent in the south. Blight in general doesn't seem to be as prevalent over on the west coast. Early blight is more prevalent where I am on the east coast, and it's based on heat and humidity. Leaf spot diseases usually come when the weather's cooler and it's more rainy. So each zone will have different problems. But if you get it once, start putting it in a journal, and then you'll know when these diseases arrive. And you want to start spraying 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time to prevent the fungal diseases from latching onto your plants. So the number 1 mistake is people don't start spraying early enough. The second mistake they make, we'll probably go over all 3 of them, is that they don't continue to spray on a routine. Your routine can be every 7 days, every 10 days, every 14 days. You want to pick a routine, you want to stick to it, mark it on a calendar, put it in your smartphone, but you want to keep the sprays going regularly. When you have an outbreak, for instance, I have a video on hydrogen peroxide, I will link that. You may want to use that every couple of days to get the disease, the fungal problems under control. So that's mistake number 1. Mistake number 2. Mistake number 3 is extremely critical. We're going to talk about, over hidden behind the sulfur there is baking soda. We're going to talk about spraying baking soda as an example when it's 70-80 degrees. You could get away with putting 2 tablespoons of baking soda in a gallon of water, spray your plants, you protect them from the fungi, everything's great. When it gets warmer, when it gets into the 90 degrees or hotter, the leaves kind of go limp. They are trying to survive the heat. So that means if you spray the 2 tablespoons of baking soda on the leaf when it's 90+ degrees, it can damage the leaves. So there's the right and wrong times to spray. You want to typically spray in the morning or in the evening, and you want to be extremely cautious when you're spraying when the temperatures are above 90 degrees. So along with number 3, maybe it's number 4, the other mistake people make is the mixture that they make, say for a zucchini plant, works really well. They go and they put it onto the Brussels sprouts or onto watermelon, and that same spray or mixture that worked on the zooks damaged the leaves of the watermelon, of the eggplant. So it's really up to you. No matter what I say or anybody you watch on YouTube or articles that you trust, is you have to test spray. Test spray your new fungicides on your plants, and keep a journal of the formula you use. I put it right on the container so that you don't accidentally mix it wrong, spray, damage your plants. You also want to test spray the same exact spray on your zucchini. Squash are pretty similar, but your squash, then you want to try some of the spray on some pepper leaves, then you want to try it on some tomato leaves, and you really want to see if any damage occurs within 48 hours. See the white moth flying around? It's right on the purple leaves there, or on the purple flower. See if it flies. We'll talk about that in a second. That's a signal. You really want to test spray your different plants so that you know what your sprays do. Those are the 4 biggest issues. So when that white moth shows up, as soon as I see that, that is the moth that lays the eggs for the green cabbage looper. In the next video, I'm going to talk about all these products over here. These are dusts and sprays used to control insects. Alright, so let's go over the products. I'm going to tell you how they work. You can decide what you want to use in your garden. Let's start with Daconil. This is a human-made chemical. It's synthesized. It is extremely effective. The way that it works is it really coats the leaves, gets into the pores of the leaves, and it stops fungi from getting hold. It's very, very effective, but it's not organic, so you may not want to use this. I would use this when my plants don't have any fruit on them. Like I don't typically do it, but I may spray the zucchini now. I may spray my tomatoes now. It'll really work to stop the fungi from getting hold, but it's not on any of my foods. I would never use this on leafy greens or anything that's hard to wash because it would be problematic. If it gets on a zucchini, that's easy to wash. I don't have any more Serenade. That would go right in here. That is a bacteria that is organic. It's an organic spray, coats the leaves. That good bacteria, or that harmless bacteria to you and I, gets into the leaf pores, prevents the fungi from getting attached. And that's what I typically use. I have to go get more because I've used it all. I'm going to be spraying my tomato plants now with that because my leaf issues, the early blight, doesn't start coming towards the end of June, beginning of July. We have another kind of spray. It's copper fungicide. It is listed for organic gardening, but it is copper. I really wouldn't want to be ingesting a lot of this, but it is listed as organic. You spray the leaves, it interacts with the fungus on there, usually kills it, doesn't allow it to reproduce. That's what copper does to it. If you have a small garden, these pump sprayers are perfectly fine. If not, you may need the gallon sprayer. I'll be doing videos on that. So then the next thing that you have are oil sprays. This one, for instance, says on here, hydrophobic extracted neem oil. If you're using neem oil for managing insects, you make sure you don't get the hydrophobic extract of neem. All that is the oil. They take out all the good stuff. I'll explain that in the insect management video. Any kind of oil coats the leaves, coats the fungus, the fungi, stops it from reproducing. That's how you use oil sprays. Each one of these will tell you how often to use it. Again, make sure you keep up a journal on when to spray and when to use it. Next you have sulfur dusts. This one is just a dust. You can't mix it with water, and you would sprinkle it on the leaves. Sulfur and baking soda changes the pH on the leaves. I use baking soda spray a lot on my tomato plants. Sulfur dust, sulfur micronized spray gets onto the leaves, makes it more acidic. It's too acidic for the fungi to establish and reproduce. It manages the fungus that way. So this will increase the acidity. Tomatoes like a little more acid, so sulfur works well. Baking soda does the opposite. It reduces the acidity of the leaf. It increases the pH. It's alkaline, and it does the same thing. It becomes too alkaline. The fungi don't reproduce. They don't like it. It's not a hospitable place for them to reproduce. You can use either one. Again, make sure you test spray. And then finally, I have hydrogen peroxide, which I started really using last year. I will link the video. It actually changed the way that I can grow tomato plants. It completely took care of early blight when it showed up on my plants. My brandywines, which are heirlooms, if you grow them, they are very susceptible to those types of diseases, the blights. And I was able to grow them well into September, and the plants just continue to grow. Hydrogen peroxide you have to do regularly, and I'll be doing more videos on all of these, how you use them in a garden, but I really wanted to go over what the different products are. It's up to you to read about what they are, how they might affect you, how to use them in the garden, but you typically have the Daconil, which are human-made fungicides. Then you would have Serenade, which I'm out of, copper fungicide, dormant oil sprays, sulfur dust, sulfur wettable, sulfur which you can spray, baking soda, and hydrogen peroxide. You can use them however you want. You don't need all of them. You don't want to double up. You just want to kind of learn which one you need in your garden and use it that way. I hope that helps you understand better what products are in the market, how you would use them to manage the different fungus that you may encounter in your gardens. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com. I sell neem oil there and peppermint oil there. I'll be talking about peppermint sprays, oil sprays, and what you want to buy when you buy neem oil so that you can actually kill the eggs, the moth that you saw flying around when it lays eggs, and the green cabbage looper devastates your crops. Cold pressed neem oil will take care of that. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.